Verstappen and Perez tension. Sergio Perez made history as the first F1 driver to secure multiple Baku GP victories, but not without a strong statement from the Red Bull driver. Although it seemed the race would conclude once Verstappen overtook Leclerc with the activation of DRS, Perez demonstrated his intention to contend for this year's championship, refusing to settle for second place once again. Verstappen, however, struggled to accept this, as he was unable to overtake his teammate for the second time this season, following Jeddah, albeit under different circumstances. The championship battle is now fully underway, and as history has shown, such rivalries often lead to tense outcomes for both parties involved. Perez has once again demonstrated his mastery of street circuits, clinching a commanding victory over his teammate Verstappen and Leclerc. By winning this sprint race and shaving off an additional 2 points from Verstappen's lead, Perez exhibited an impressive and untouchable pace, which is not commonly associated with the Mexican driver. Nonetheless, we wholeheartedly welcome such competition and genuinely hope it continues throughout the 2023 season. At present, Red Bull's dominance is virtually unchallenged, with the only threat to their supremacy being internal competition. What happened with Verstappen preventing him from easily overtaking his teammate as he had in the past? And intriguingly, why did his team opt to pit him when yellow flags were waving in sectors 1 and 2, given the imminent likelihood of a safety car deployment? It could be attributed to misfortune, but it resulted in Verstappen having to pursue the lead held by Perez and Leclerc once more. This time around, though, his attempt to catch up with his teammate was unsuccessful. We are very excited for the next races this season, and with a good reason. It's because for the first time, Perez managed to withstand Verstappen's pressure throughout the entire race. Indeed, he held on for 25 laps, equating to 50% of the Jeddah GP, which was more or less an evenly matched contest. But that race saw Verstappen ascend from P15 to P2. In this instance, Perez was the one maintaining proximity in Verstappen's DRS zone before the Dutch driver entered the pit lane. After the safety car situation worked to his advantage, the Mexican never wavered in his lead. This development will surely be a topic of conversation within the Red Bull team, as at one point Verstappen's gap to Perez increased to over 2.5 seconds. His team inquired about the specific issue with the car, to which he responded that he was experiencing problems with the differential and the throttle. Clearly, Verstappen had been struggling with the car's balance throughout the entire weekend, an issue that nearly resulted in him making a more forceful impact with the wall than the minor kisses he experienced during the race. It's unusual to see Verstappen in a situation like this. Regarding the race's outcome, the two-time world champion attributed it to a combination of poor fortune and car instability, pointing to the ill-timed pit stop as the primary reason for his inability to overtake his teammate. In discussing this issue, Verstappen stated, "Of course the safety car was a bit unlucky, then I had to push again and try to stay very close to try and get within the DRS of Perez. But the tires were overheating a little bit, and then of course trying to follow Perez with the balance, I was struggling to be really consistent. I was playing around with the tools a little bit, and once I got that settled, I think the last 10 laps or so were quite good, but it was just a little bit too late. There were a lot of things learnt throughout the race, and at the end of the day, the 1-2 is a good team result. We keep learning. We cannot be perfect all the time. There are always things you can learn." Baku has demonstrated that as it currently stands, no other team is likely to challenge Red Bull moving forward, because Verstappen passed other drivers even without activating his DRS during the race restart. The DRS advantage, which enables the RB19 to achieve speeds over 30 km/h faster than its competitors, essentially functions as a cheat code for the Austrian team. Overall, it appears that this season is shaping up to be reminiscent of the 2016 Mercedes rivalry, and nothing would please F1 fans more than witnessing a true battle between Perez and Verstappen. Another evident revelation following the Baku race is that Verstappen's most formidable teammate is right beside him. After all that Perez has done for Verstappen in the previous 2 years, and the Dutchman's own response, Verstappen now faces an irate teammate who, for some reason, appears to extract more pace from the RB19 on circuits like Baku and Jeddah. Examining the chart where Verstappen pursued Perez, it is evident that that Perez's advantage over Verstappen was primarily gained in the circuit's narrower sections, an area where the Mexican driver excels. Conversely, Verstappen consistently closed in on Perez along the 2.2-kilometer-long main straight delta, but it proved insufficient. The entire weekend was certainly troublesome for a driver who views anything short of victory as a failure. While we would be thrilled to witness this rivalry unfold throughout the rest of the season, there's one crucial point we must emphasize. Baku is a street circuit. This likely presents one of Perez's most significant advantages, as demonstrated in Jeddah and in Singapore last year as well. However, according to Horner, even though Perez's pace warrants closer attention, it was primarily the safety car that assisted his number 2 driver in securing his second season win. Addressing this subject, Red Bull's team principal commented, "Perez has had a sensational weekend. He has always been amazing at this track. I don't know what it is about Azerbaijan. He absolutely excels here, and he got a little lucky with a safety car today, but he converted that and pulled a gap and had the pace. He really controlled the pace, so a phenomenal drive by him all weekend." It's safe to conclude that Perez is feeling considerably more comfortable in the RB19 than he did in the RB18. Resolving this issue was one of the team's primary objectives before the season commenced. While Perez benefited from a more stable car, Verstappen was able to adapt to its slightly troublesome and understeering nature. In this instance, however, it was the Dutch driver who grappled with avoiding collisions with the wall, as his teammate continued to surge ahead. This serves as a clear indication that Perez has no intention of backing down, given the support he has received from his team this season. When asked after Sunday's race whether Perez could maintain his challenge against Verstappen throughout the season, Horner admitted that the initial tracks in 2022 were street circuits much like this year. He emphasized that Perez needed to prove himself on regular circuits, as his victories for Red Bull had all been on street circuits. Verstappen recognizes the situation and acknowledges that their car is the fastest. However, he knows that consistency is crucial, as he's been in this position before. With a long season ahead featuring a variety of tracks, he believes that he will enjoy the fast corners on full-on racetracks more than the stop-start tracks they have experienced thus far. Perez has been performing well, growing more confident in the car, and both the team and Verstappen appreciate this. It is important for both drivers to have a good time and acknowledge each other's achievements. They plan to continue fighting throughout the season, which is expected in a competitive environment. Perez also reflected on his strong weekends in Jeddah and Baku, noting that he was constantly pushed by Verstappen. He recalls his performance in Singapore last year, when he was similarly pressured by Charles Leclerc. Perez doesn't think Baku was his best ever race, but he acknowledges that it was a good one, in which he maintained focus and avoided errors. He believes that such performances demonstrate that he can beat anyone as long as he remains consistent. Both Perez and Verstappen aim to outdo each other, with each driver equally eager to win the championship, and if Perez is to beat Verstappen, he is going to have to find a level of consistency of performance he has never achieved before, and he knows it. The hard part will be pulling it off and at the same time keeping the Dutch driver at bay. Whether it will happen, only time will tell. What are your thoughts? Did you like how Baku went for Perez? And are you excited for their battles in the remainder of the season? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and we will see you next time.